UFC Fight Night Vegas 18, Overeem versus Volkov has just wrapped up, so I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and I did amazing on this card in predictions as well, so I'm very proud of myself. Starting with the early prelim opener of Ode Osborne took on Jerome Rivera as the opener of the card and completely starched him out in the first round. Follow-up shots also there, but maybe not even required. Jerome Rivera goes down immediately by Ode Osborne in the first round. I said Ode Osborne would get the finish against Jerome Rivera. I know a lot of these fights got made up after the card. I also picked Devonte Smith to get a TKO over Justin James and Stamen to win, but Askar got pulled out as well. But Ode Osborne, clean shot, right on the chin. Down goes Jerome Rivera. Finishing sequence added together, and then Ode Osborne gets an amazing performance on the card, and one of the best performances on the prelims, and I'd say the best performance on the prelims, because the prelims were pretty pooey, and we're going to get to the rest of them right now. It was a bit of a half-guard simulator, in all honesty, so it was good for Ode Osborne to stand out here early and earn himself a quick finish here. Great things for him moving forward. Another fight on the card, however, Teemo Valliv versus Martin Day. I suspected that Teemo Valliv would go out there and completely destroy Martin Day, and that he did by winning every single round. However, I thought he was going to go out there and get an early TKO against Martin Day. He did not. He went out there, took him down, controlled him. He said he wanted to be a bit more patient in his post-fight interview, which I understood because he got over-aggressive against Trevin Jones, just beating him up the entire time, and eventually got countered and KO'd in that fight, eventually for being over-aggressive. So he definitely tamed himself in this one. Just controlled Martin Day on the ground every single round. Half guard, sat there, landed good shots, great significant strikes. 12-3 in round 1, 21-4 in round 2, 22-1 in round 3. I mean, just dominant performance by Teemo Valliv. Didn't want to risk anything and get KO'd like he did last time and go crazy, so he took his time, was very patient, and just picked apart Martin Day for 3 rounds. Martin Day is probably going to get cut by the UFC now, but Teemo Valliv, I think him versus Ode Osborne would be an amazing fight. No, both guys took basically no damage. Turn him around in 3 months. Valliv's not young. Ode Osborne's a young guy on the come up, I believe. Anyway, I'm not too sure of his age, to be honest with you, but I think he's a younger guy in his late 20s maybe. Teemo Valliv versus Ode Osborne on a card coming up soon. Both fought at featherweight. Let's make it happen. I know they're both bantamweights anyway, but let's make it happen. Ode Osborne versus Teemo Valliv. Moving on up the card, Choi Sung-woo versus Yusef Zalau. I am going to go and say it how it is. I predicted this fight. I thought that Choi Sung-woo would control Yusef Zalau for 3 rounds, beat him in the grappling, and also definitely, which was a key part of my prediction, beat him in the stand-up, and Choi Sung-woo did exactly that. Schooled Yusef Zalau on the stand-up, he was too fast on the feet, landed better shots in the first. Actually, it was very close in the first according to the actual stats, 13-12, but he just defended the takedowns well, always controlled the position, landed total strikes in the clinch as well, and out total striked Yusef Zalau. Zalau was doing a lot of getting the takedowns and trying to go for takedowns, but Choi Sung-woo would just always be there to land shots in the clinch and make sure he was winning those exchanges with little close elbows, couple of knees, couple of punches as well. Then in the second round and the third round, it just got worse for Zalau. Kept trying to shoot takedowns, but Sung-woo Choi was just outlanding him on the feet, landing the bigger shots as well, chewed up his legs early as well in the fight, landed a good few leg kicks to start things off. That really set the tone for the rest of the fight in my opinion, and Sung-woo Choi, amazing performance as a huge underdog, and he helped me turn £1 into 3 by betting on him to get the job done there as a dog. I'm so glad I picked him, because it was kind of like Sung-woo Choi is the bronze medalist of Muay Thai in the Muay Thai World Championships when he was 18 years of age. I didn't see Yusef Zalau going out there and outstriking him, and it just seemed like Yusef Zalau was very desperate for the takedown, and he's not a grappler. And Sung-woo Choi showed great takedown defense. He's been controlled by Evloev and Gavin Tucker before in his career, but those are savages, so I don't really see that as a weakness in his grappling. I just see that in how good Tucker and Evloev are, but Sung-woo Choi bounces back here. Another win. He's now on a 2-fight win streak in the UFC. A very good performance here against Yusef Zalau. A little bit dull again. A lot of half guard and control time and holding up against the cage and clinch work, much like the last fight. But listen, Sung-woo Choi gets it done. Great performance. I thought he could win every round, if not 2-1. I called that he would win every round, 30-27 for unanimous decision win. Just barely outdoing Yusef Zalau on the feet every single round. I'll take that one as well. Sung-woo Choi got it done and looked great as well. Young guy, 28 years of age. Zalau will be back. He's a very, very young guy. I think like like he's like 22 or 23 or something crazily young. So he's definitely going to be back. But one thing I will say to Yusef Zalau, called this before the fight, he is not giving himself enough time between bouts to improve. Just the truth, in my opinion. He needs to take more time off. He keeps jumping back in there. Short notice, yeah, I'll take it. You've got to improve between fights, because he took like 3 within the space of 6 months last year in 2020, and it's very obvious that he's just kind of the same Zalau every time. He needs to take some time out. He will be a great contender, in my opinion. He's a very good fighter, but he needs to take some time, 6 months, come back on International Fight Week, or in July, maybe that's not even 6 months, but maybe come back in August, September, around that time, looking to make a comeback, then turn it around for the end of the year if he is successful there. But yeah, Zalau needs to take some time off, improve his game, because I think he's being figured out a little bit now. If you can beat him on the feet, he's really not got much else, and Choi will prove that tonight. Moving on up the card, I just spat everywhere. Molly Mccann versus Lara Procopio. It was a heated weigh-in, and of course we got some clinching and grappling for 3 rounds. This one was actually pretty entertaining, to be honest with you. Some good shots landed from both. Immediately they started swinging, but yeah, Lara Procopio just got it done. I picked her as an underdog. She opened as more of a 2-1 underdog, and she ended the card, I believe, evens with Molly Mccann at one point when the fight started. So that just kind of tells you what people were thinking about those odds and what they were predicting. So Lara Procopio gets it done in each round, controls on the ground, stays on top, lands way more total strikes. Molly Mccann was in there, and it was a close fight, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, in a lot of those rounds where Molly Mccann outlands her by 1 in the first, and there's evens on the second, and evens in the third as well, you give it to the person on top doing a bit more total strikes, and that's exactly what Lara Procopio did. 7 out of 9 takedowns, got on when she wanted to against Molly Mccann. 11 minutes and 43 seconds of top control. Just a good smothering performance from Lara Procopio. She got the job done. Young contender on the rise. Molly Mccann, little bit of a tough situation. She's 10-4, so I guess we can give her another chance. There's much worse records in the UFC, but back of the line for Molly Mccann. She got smushed again like she did against Taylor Santos on the ground, and Procopio just stepped up, and she looked great against Carol Rosa, who I'm going to talk about right now, as the next fight on the card is Carol Rosa versus Jocelyn Edwards. Great performance by Carol Rosa in that one. She looks amazing and got a clean win over 3 rounds with some great fights. I know she got cut on the lip in the middle of the fight as well against Jocelyn Edwards, and that was a good moment, but 11 minutes of top control again. Another half-guard simulator situation, landed way more total strikes. Significance, she won in every single round. Maybe round 2 is close, but still I had it 30-27. Carol Rosa getting a job done. Jocelyn Edwards would have some good moments, come rushing forward, throw a bunch of combinations, trying to land on the chin, but then Carol Rosa, every single time that Jocelyn rushed forwards, would just go, right, you want to rush forward and throw hooks? I'm going to shoot underneath of them and double leg you to the canvas and keep you there for the rest of the round. And it just seemed like Edwards had no answer off of her back. So Carol Rosa just got on top, landed more total strikes, secured herself an easy decision win, and got it done over 3 rounds. Good job by Carol Rosa. I called a decision win by 30-27 win. She got it done. Good job, Carol Rosa. Close fight, but Edwards really had nothing off her back, and that was mainly the answer of the whole situation. So Carol Rosa, great performance. Great fight. Women's bantamweight's got another contender in Carol Rosa. Pretty spicy looking as well. Devonte Smith versus Justin James took place on the headliner of the prelims. I called Devonte Smith by TKO, and I didn't put that in my prediction video, but this fight got made short notice, and I picked Devonte Smith by TKO on stream, and I made it on left a little comment on my full card predictions telling you guys who I was picking for the upcoming bouts, Smith and Ode Osborne, and Smith gets it done by TKO as well. Clean win against Justin James. It was a doctor stoppage though, and I do want to mention this. He's so fucking chinny. I'm scared for him moving forward. I like Devonte Smith. He seems like a very nice guy. This was also very important to mention, a catch weight bout. He didn't even cut the full amount of weight for this one. It is just very obvious to me, after watching a couple of Devonte Smith fights now, every time he gets hit on the chin, he is not reacting the same way as other fighters do, and I think his chin is a little bit worrying, because a Kamal Worthy knockout that he's coming off before was pretty bad, and he got clipped with like a weak check hook by Kamal Worthy that looked like he didn't even want to KO Devonte Smith with it, and down went Devonte Smith, chicken legs and everything. In this fight, he gets tagged with a right hand and goes fucking sloppy for a second. I think James didn't realise just how bad he'd hurt Devonte Smith there. He should have maybe poured on the pressure, but Devonte Smith looked good other than that. Other than his chin, which I'm assuming is going to be a huge narrative and problem going forward. Like, if he's going up against a guy with big KO power early, I'm going to start siding with those guys purely because of that worrying chin. But he landed great shots in the fight. First round, 25-9 on strikes. Some good shots whenever Justin James got a single leg. He was like mixing it up with every angle of hammer fist standing on James, landing some good blows. I think he hurt James's nose at one point, and then eventually the eye was bad as well, and they stopped the fight. It was Devonte Smith controlling on the ground anyway, so I'm assuming he would have went on to win, especially with James taking it on short notice. James just didn't really have too much off his back for Devonte Smith, who eventually passed into a full mount, half guard, side control. He was just passing over the guard well, showed a great ground game, and they stopped the fight for the eye, but it was going to happen anyway. I thought Devonte Smith was on his way to winning after that first round because it really seemed like James was slowing down massively. And Smith gets it done, another contender in the lightweight division. Looking forward to seeing what he can do next. He needs to take some time off like he said he would. Come back International Fight Week, 4 months from now maybe. Get him back in there. Let's see if we can get the ball rolling for Devonte Smith. Seems like a cool personality as well. Whole prelims correct for the MMA guru. Not just a whole prelims correct. Every fight called to a T, other than Teemo Valliv going to a decision. I'll take it. Moving on to the main card of UFC Vegas 18. A good one as well. But not really. We started with Mike Rodriguez versus Danilo Marquez. Again, more just takedowns and clinching. And Mike Rodriguez didn't really have an answer for the takedowns. And Danilo Marquez gets the job done. He is an older guy, but he is getting it done. Landed good shots on the ground in the first round. I mean, just controlled him there. It didn't seem like Mike Rodriguez had great balance. So whenever Danilo Marquez would put him on a single leg, he would just sort of topple over himself. And Danilo didn't really have to do too much to get on top. And then eventually got the rear naked choke in the second round and got the job done. Danilo Marquez is he's a good fighter, man. I know I questioned him because of his record and his age, and it seems like maybe his camp doesn't have too much belief in him because of his record and opponents that he's, you know what I mean? So I thought maybe Mike Rodriguez would get it done. He's also basically coming off a win against Ed Herman, which is a huge win to have. Ed Herman's no joke still for the light heavyweight division, but Danilo Marquez gets it done. New contender, jiu-jitsu guy in light heavyweight, 35 years of age. Couldn't you have started 5 years earlier? But it's alright. Mike Rodriguez is done. He got taken down, smushed on the ground. We'll see what he does next. But that was mainly the story of the fight. Mike Rodriguez landed decent shots on the feet. Couple of good knees in the clinch. I thought maybe he could wear down Marquez if he kept it going, but just wasn't urgent enough in the positions. And Marquez eventually suffocated him into a rear naked choke. Got the job done. Well done, Danilo Marquez. My first incorrect prediction of the card. And Marquez gets it done. Great job. Moving on. Up the card. Carlos Diego Ferreira versus Benil Dariush 2. These judges need to be stopped. Who gave that fight to Diego Ferreira? It was 30-27. Clearly, every single round was won in that fight by Benil Dariush. How could they possibly give a round to Diego Ferreira? I understand the second round. I actually understand the second round. Maybe. But even then, I'm like, but Dariush, was on top there, winning the grappling situations. Like, I understand maybe the second round because he got outlanded, I think, by a couple. Let me check the stats. 29-21 in the first round for Dariush. Outlanded him. Landed great shots as well. Good inside leg kicks to start things off. A couple of body kicks and body punches from Dariush. I think that really helped as the fight went on because Dariush seemed to be slowing down a bit. And I think those body shots that he landed on Ferreira kind of saved him in that third round because Ferreira was also feeling a bit of a cardio deficit because of those body shots. Even hurt Ferreira. How can you give the fight to Ferreira? He hurt Ferreira with a knee in the first round as well, and Ferreira sinks downwards. Like, how can you actually give that fight to Ferreira? You can't win the third round either. He got controlled, out-reversed, and out-scrambled, and Dariush is on top, landing more shots and better shots. How can you give it to... whatever. Crazy judging. I thought we were in for a real surprise with the upcoming. I'm so glad the main and co-main event did not go to a decision, and we'll get to them in a second, because I feel like there's going to be some shoddy play with these judges, in all honesty. But eventually, Dariush just proved too much in the scrambles. It was basically identical to their first fight, in all honesty. I called that. I thought it was going to be a little bit more scrappy, which it was in the first round, but it was basically identical to their first fight. Scrappy on the feet. Dariush got the better of the feet in the first round, first part of the round, and eventually goes for the takedowns in the second half of the round, controls him there, escapes position, re-engages. Kind of the same fight over again, but this time both of them are a little bit better, but Dariush is just a younger guy, improving a little bit more. I'd like to see him versus RDA. I know he said he doesn't want to fight RDA, but you will not get another opponent in the top 5 other than RDA. I'm sorry, Dariush. I know you're upset, and he's starting to become the heel Benil Dariush, turning a little bit on the UFC a little bit, but He's not going to get anyone else other than RDA, and you need to have that fight. I know that you like RDA and he's your friend, but these things happen, man. Usman's fighting Burns next weekend. Like, you got to do this. You know what I mean? There's no one else in the top. Who else is he going to? What, Tony Ferguson versus Benil Dariush? Maybe, but is Tony going to take that fight when there's bigger names out there? There's McGregor's out there, you know what I mean, in the lightweight division. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be a tough one for Dariush to get a top contender, and it should be RDA, even though they train together. Great performance by him, though. I just don't, again, know how you can give that to Diego. I don't know how you can give that to Diego Ferreira. Makes no sense. Dariush won the first and the third clearly. Maybe even the second, but I'll give it to Ferreira because he landed a couple of more significant strikes, but whatever. Good fight. Benil Dariush gets it done. Very, very happy for him. I like Benil Dariush. One thing I do worry about, though, is sometimes in the exchanges, he is so sloppy in certain moments. Like his takedowns, he's like face planting the ground after missing a single leg. Like, it's just, sometimes he gets a little bit sloppy, but it works because he keeps the pressure on. So it doesn't even matter if he's sloppy. He's just always going for something. So the guy always have to worry or work towards something. And they can't ever get a rest with Dariush in front of him. He kept a great pace on Ferreira in this fight. And that's usually a guy who puts the pace on others, Ferreira. So good job, Danilo Dariush. Great win. And a great performance. I just worry about him in the exchanges with his chin wide open. And it's worrying watching Dariush fight, you know, because you know what can happen in an instant. He can get switched off. So it's always fun. I like Dariush. Great scrap with Ferreira. Gets the job done. Moving on. Up the card to the next fight on the main card. Alejandre Pantoja versus Manill Cape. Manill Cape was concerned about the decision here. Clear win for Pantoja. Very, very clear win for Pantoja. In the first 2 rounds, I had him easily winning. I could even see him winning the third, but I guess a Manill Cape third round is not bad. In all honesty, I don't mind it. I picked Alejandre Pantoja to win this by 29-28 or 30-27. Unanimous decision. It was a close one, but he got it done. Very impressed with him. I know that Manill Cape scored a couple of takedowns at the end of some of the rounds, but in the first 2 rounds, it was just so obvious that Alejandre Pantoja had outstriked him so easily. Like in the first round here, 25-12. Then in the second round, 29-16. Nothing was done with the takedowns, and Pantoja got right back up every single time and even looked to reverse positions in certain occasions. Like definite clear win for Alejandre Pantoja in the first 2 rounds. Manill Cape not really living up to the hype, man. I hate to say it. Like, I know I don't want to pile on for Manill Cape here, but this was like my most worrying pick of the card. Like, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do real well this card, but that Pantoja Cape fight is interesting. Wouldn't be surprised if Cape gets it done. He started as an underdog. I think he ended as like a slight favourite or like evens with Alejandre Pantoja, so that tells you a little bit about what people were thinking about him. Very good, beat Kai Asakura, but this kind of goes to show we got the best flyweights, I guess. Alejandre Pantoja is not the top guy. Like, Davison Figueiredo has beaten him. Askar Askarov has beaten him. Both in close fights, don't get me wrong, and competitive fights. But, like, I think we got the best flyweights in the world, and that kind of got established tonight because Manill Cape is pretty good. But he just didn't really have anything in the first 2 rounds for Pantoja, and Pantoja won it off of the kicks, chewed up the leg of Manill Cape in the first round, and then Cape was fighting from southpaw the entire time. He switches anyway, but he was just in the wrong stance the whole time. Like, he couldn't really get back into his groove, and Pantoja kept beating him to punches and beating him to kicks and front kicks to the stomach and body kicks, and it was just Manill Cape was sitting there with his arms down, taunting and feinting, and doing basically fuck all for the first 2 rounds, other than just survive. So, a little bit disappointing of a performance from Manill Cape. But, yeah, he won the 3rd round, I guess. But it's just, Pantoja knew he'd won. So, 2-1 Pantoja, clear win. Pantoja, I feel like, is going to be on to bigger things in the flyweight division. Now, this was a big win for him, because if he loses to Manill Cape, he's right down those flyweight rankings, because Cape is not even ranked whatsoever, so they would really drop him down. But for Cape, I feel like he's just going to have to pick himself back up and get another win in the UFC. We'll see how it goes. He's going to have to get a win in the UFC. So, young guy, didn't get the jump, but Pantoja showed how good he was and how good the UFC flyweight division is in general. Moving on up the card, Michael Johnson versus Clay Guida. I went with Michael Johnson because I am sane, but Clay Guida wins. Clay Guida wins. I actually thought it was a close fight, in all honesty, because Michael Johnson outlanded him in the first. I know he got taken down and controlled in certain positions, but I thought, you know, he's winning on total strikes. He landed one more than Clay Guida in that first round as well, and he cut him open with an elbow. So I thought, you know what, the first round's kind of close, but Guida landed the bigger shots and hurt Michael Johnson at one point. Even though Johnson hurt Guida, it was a close fight in the first round, but Guida, I think, edged it a little bit, so I think it's a justifiable decision. Third round was dominant for Guida as well. I thought the second round was a clear one for Michael Johnson, maybe, but again, listen, I'm not saying it can't go to Guida even in the second. Like, I know it was a 30-27 decision, but I thought Johnson maybe had secured the second round. But clean win for Guida. Clean win for Guida. Gets it done, scrapping away. I said he would go back to carpentry after this fight, but apparently Michael Johnson's going to have to go to Bellator instead because he is absolute garbage and does not improve between any fight whatsoever and still has the same problems he had 5 fucking years ago. Refuses to address them. How are you losing to Guida at this stage, Johnson? How are you beating Poirier and Ferguson and losing to fucking Guida, you absolute embarrassment, man? Michael Johnson, mix it up a bit more, man. Guida gets it done. Guida wins. I'm proud of Guida, man. Made a little bit of a paycheck. He wants a contender on the come-up next, so that's something we can talk about. Like, let's put him against a streaking contender. Someone who's going to do good for him. I know he said he's got a lot of legends and veterans in his past few fights. He wants to take on an up-and-comer, so that's basically a guaranteed new contract, because Dana would lick his lips at that. Like, Sean Shelby's thinking, oh, you want an up-and-comer? Here's Yoel Alvarez. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of dangerous guys that will hurt him, but I'm glad that he wants to take on the tough guys, and Guida makes a good little paycheck here. Johnson's done, cutting from the UFC. Moving on up the card to the co-main event. I've made a full fight reaction to this, 13 minutes long, but Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. Just obliteration. Just absolute retirement in the first round. Flying knee straight on the chin. Down goes Edgar. Slumps him out cold in the first round. Just Sandhagen is a savage, and he's building his highlight reel more and more. Highlights. Nothing but highlights. That's a great career, yeah? Highlights. Corey Sandhagen building them highlights very well. Gets a flying knee against Frankie Edgar in the first round. There's no fight to even discuss. It was just a flying knee. There was more of a post-fight interview than a fight happened. And a great post-fight interview by Sandhagen as well. Called out his frustration about not getting a title shot and how Dillashaw's going to jump the queue and how he wants Aljo, and he says he owes Aljo a nap, which is a very cool little line that he came up with. I like it. It's going to be used in promos for sure. But that flying knee after his wheel kick against Moraes, like, what can't this guy do? Spectacular finishes, 2 fights in a row. Best KO of the year in 2021 so far. Just slept Edgar in the first round with a flying knee, man. Holloway struggled, you know. I don't know he's at bantamweight and he got hurt, and he's older now than the Holloway fight, but like Holloway took him 5 and Edgar won a round. Like, I thought Sandhagen was going to scoot around the outside and piece him up for 3, but I did not see that coming whatsoever. He's a savage. We've got to watch out for so much more than we think with Corey Sandhagen now, because he's just adding to his game. Explosivity, more damage, more power, more fucking fast twitch. It's just craziness. Corey Sandhagen's improving. I think he should feel in for the replacement of the title fight coming up soon, because it's a tough position for him to be in, man. He's not going to get a title shot, I don't think, so it's tough for Sandhagen, but I'd like to see him get it because he's earned it with those performances. Sucks to be Edgar right now, but I think that's another retirement. Speaking of the retirements, Michael Johnson, Frankie Edgar, the main event, Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. Just piecing apart. Overeem was Volkov. Just piecing them apart. The whole fight long, Overeem shelling up against the cage, and Volkov not being a stupid heavyweight by winging crazy shots. Instead, finding his shots, being very patient, taking his time, not being overzealous, not overthrowing and gassing himself out, not leaving himself open to be countered whatsoever. Alexander Volkov, very patient, very technical, very high fight IQ. Picked apart Alistair Overeem in the first round. Landed shots where he needed to damage the face of Overeem. Broke the nose in the first round as well. And then it seemed like as soon as the first few shots landed from Volkov, I think he's got crazy power. I think he has. After this 20-pound weight gain, I think he's got a power difference because Walt Harris and Overeem, people didn't used to react to shots like that from Volkov. Like, they usually, Volkov, you're hitting me? Okay, cool. Well, I don't want to eat too many hundreds of them, but I'll take these ones for now, Volkov. But it feels like now with Volkov, since he's packed on some more muscle in the heavyweight division and made Alistair Overeem look like a little child out there with how massive he is, Alexander Volkov is a dangerous, dangerous heavyweight for anyone in that division. He's a dangerous man. He really is, and he pieced apart Overeem. Got to finish in the second round with a brutal shot down the pipe with, I believe it was not down the pipe, it was like a left hook around the guard that just sent Overeem down, facing the other way, all fours on the ground, not knowing where he was. The ref jumps in. Very good stoppage, because one more shot would have put him out cold. Overeem's one last run is done, and that's another retirement for the books, in my opinion. We'll see what happens from here, but Alexander Volkov, down he goes as a great heavyweight in the division, and down goes Overeem as a failed one last run, which is sad. It's very sad, but Volkov's going to move on to do great things. Looking forward to his career moving forward. I think he's a dangerous fight for anyone. We'll see what happens next, but a great performance. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Goodbye. I'll see you later. I went 10-2 overall, and the only one I got wrong was Guida Johnson, which is just dumb. So I don't care. Other than the first one. Oh yeah, Rodriguez didn't. I'll take the Danilo Marquez loss. I'll take that one. I was wrong. But don't let Guida beat you, you fucking bum. See you later. Goodbye. Click that button up there. Toodle pip.